Welcome back to another edition of Max and Nikki 1000th Time Reactions,
where we react to a song after listening to it for our 1000th time.
We release 3 videos a day every day, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all this amazing content of ours.
That's right.
So what are we going to listen to right now, Max?
We're going to listen to My Way by Frank Sinatra.
Mm-hmm. Now, even though we've heard this song a lot of times, I think we originally heard the Gypsy Kings version of this song before we heard this version of this song.
That's right.
It's called A Mi Manera.
Sure.
But we'll get into that afterwards.
Sure, we'll get into it afterwards.
But for now, just wanted to remind you all that we have another channel called Max and Nikki, on which we perform oldies tunes, jazz standards, and originals in that vein. And we have comedy videos on there as well, so check that out.
But for right now, let's get to listening to My Way by Frank Sinatra.
For our 1000th time.
Here we go.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall, and did it laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that. And may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got, if not himself? Then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. Yes, it was my way.
That is My Way.
By Frank Sinatra. It's one of those written, of course, by Paul Anka, actually, or the lyrics were written by Paul Anka, but it's based on a French song. The melody is taken from a French song, but the lyrics were written by Paul Anka. If you guys didn't know that already, man,
Yeah, Paul Anka wrote that, I think, with the idea that, I mean, Frank Sinatra was getting on in years, and I think he was just kind of, I'm not sure
wait,
how
no, when did this come out?
in 1969.
Well, okay, he wasn't getting on that many years.
Well,
I mean,
he
he
was-
was like, he was in his 40s, I guess.
No, he's in his 50s, 55,
In 1969.
54, something like that.
He was out in 1969?
I think he was born in 1915.
Really? Mm-hmm. Are you sure about that?
I'll look it up right now.
Are you sure maybe you're right. Hey, I thought he was born in the 20s, but maybe, I guess you're right.
No, he was born in the teens, that's for sure. Let's just double check. 1915.
1915.
Well, he was six, maybe he was 54, 53.
Oh, I guess he was
rather,
getting on in
53.
years, huh?
He was getting on in years, and I think he was kind of, I don't know, he had some success in the 60s for sure, but I think he was looking
sure,
for his
he
next
was
hit,
in,
and Paul Anka presented to him, hey, this is the one right here. It's based on a French song that came out a couple years prior, I believe. It's called Comme d'habitude.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting.
But the lyrics are
Frank Sinatra
about
was,
something completely different.
Frank Sinatra was doing things. I mean, this is during his period where he's doing like Strangers in the Night. He's doing these like ballads, these sort of swan song kind of songs in a way,
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The swan song, I feel like, is kind of befitting of this.
But it's
this older Frank Sinatra. He's saying, "Hey, I did all these things," and it sounds like one of these things that an older singer would sing.
Sure. I mean, I do. And this song is
he
great.
still
This
had,
song is
he
great.
still had many years of success later on.
Sure. I
actually,
mean, New York came out. His version of it came out in the early 80s, actually.
Oh, it came out in the early 80s?
Maybe late 70s.
No, I think late 70s.
Well, because the movie New York came out in the late 70s,
77?
78, I believe.
But I think his version came out in 79.
Could be. I think it came out in 80, but
that was a big that's what's interesting about that song is it's one of his later hits, but it's probably
the song
that he's most identified with.
This
I think.
this too, I think My Way
This
is
too, but I would say New York. I mean, come on.
yeah, but My Way.
Well,
anyway, we haven't reacted. We're just talking about
Let me just say why I think
we're just talking about the back history of this song.
No, but let me
We
just say
gotta-
why I think probably My Way is identified with him so much is that he kind of he was kind of the boss kind of the Rat Pack. He was kind
was
of
the chairman of the board.
He was kind of he had this sort
I know, but
of,
why are we talking about things people can look up on Wikipedia?
No, this isn't something. This is my analysis of it.
Oh, okay.
This is my analysis. I'm saying he kind of had this. He did his thing. He did his things his way. It seemed like, I mean, it just seemed like this song was kind of made for him in a way,
Sure, but
he had a very
can I
authoritative way of dealing with things. I think
he did. I mean, he burned a lot of bridges. I would say. I mean, with friendships, infamously with Peter Lawford, he felt like he was snubbed by the Kennedys, and so on and so forth. And he had kind of he wasn't the most forgiving guy, I think. But I would say this song, to me, it reminds me of the Robert Frost poem, the Two Roads Divergent of Wood, and I took the one less traveled and made all the difference. It's kind of like somebody looking back on his life and thinking, I did it. I took maybe the road that, he even says in the lyrics, I've had some regrets, but not enough that is notable or something like that. I can't remember the exact lyric, but it's almost as if he's trying to justify, you know, taking the road that he took by saying, "Hey, I did it my way," you know, and
Right.
that's what
That
counts,
there's
you know?
something. Hey, at least There's some. He's kind of validating his life in that way.
Sure,
you
and
know?
you know, the two roads diverging in a wood. If you
Which
really analyze
lends
that
itself-
poem, it's like
Well, no,
it's-
you can analyze it however
many
you want.
Sure,
you know, but
but I think you know one of the intended meanings was that the narrator is almost you know trying to
Trying to-
reconcile
trying to
his what happened in his life by saying, "Hey, this happened in my life. You know, maybe these bad things had happened, but I did it the less traveled way, and so I'm."
So there, that gives it meaning.
That gives it
somehow.
meaning somehow,
And
yeah.
Even though that could be just some sort of defense mechanism.
Yeah,
in a way.
exactly. The poem seems to be a long defense mechanism, really.
Sure,
But you can interpret it other ways, you know.
you can interpret it another way too. You
And
can
same
just say-
same thing with this song.
You can interpret it as saying it's a positive thing. You know, maybe you're reflecting on the bad things, and you said, but you know what, at least I acted the way I was my genuine way, and
Sure.
that can't be changed, and that's something I value. Maybe that's a good thing.
Sure.
Maybe that's a positive thing, and it gives you confidence.
Sure,
you know,
sure,
or
sure.
there's something-
By the way, you know, Paul Anka's autobiography, I think, is called My Way. But as far as the music is concerned, I do like how it starts off, you know, like a lot of these almost ballads at the time, they start off really quiet and it really builds to like a grandiose thing.
Right, you get this really big
And
kind
it's
of
very
orchestra
powerful where this
backing him
orchestra
and
comes
yeah.
in. I think it starts off with like just a bass and like
Well,
an upright
actually, a
bass.
lot of these kind of crooner, kind of Vegas style songs,
Sure.
they all start kind of that kind of have a repeating melody.
Mm-hmm.
They all have this kind of thing. I mean, you can hear it in Mac the Knife also. Actually, it's kind of this repeating thing that builds and builds into this grand
Sure,
thing.
Donkashane as well.
Right. Although there's kind of, Donkashane as well. Those are all these kinds of, I mean, Wayne Newton is a big staple of Las Vegas.
Sure.
But I should say, though, in this, there are a couple of grandiose moments, you know?
Sure, sure.
There's a couple of climactic moments after which you can kind of hear, if you're really paying attention, you can kind of hear that there's at least one of those times, it seems that there's an edit. There's a edit in the tape that they made because it seems like it's hard to come off that huge belt,
Sure.
and then come right
Sure.
back down. You know,
You know, I mean, but rock singers would do this too. I mean, like David Bowie does it with the song 5 Years. It starts off really quiet and it builds to this grandiose thing where he actually sings the chorus for the first time or something like that at the end of the song.
By the way, there's a part towards the end where I think it's the piano plays it because the chords have this. It does this. If you know anything about music theory, it goes from a 4 to a minor 4, and then back to the 1. It sounds like
Well, you don't need to be looking over there.
Well, yeah, sorry, but it kind of sounds like It reminded me of a little, the Little Mermaid, actually. you know?
I was going to say that
You know,
too. I was going to say it reminds me of the Little Mermaid too.
part of that world. Is it part of this world or that world? What is it?
Part of that world.
Part of that world. Yeah.
You know, yeah, it does. I think it's the strings of da 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 da.
Well, I think it's the piano. I'm not sure, but it did.
maybe it's-
it did. Yeah,
I know.
because
I was thinking the same thing.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
You know, now it's interesting because he is older, and you can kind of hear that quality in his voice. That his voice is a little bit less robust than it was when he was younger. I mean,
No,
certainly.
well, actually, there's something in some ways it has a little bit more robust. It's a little more robust.
I do
actually.
prefer a younger Frank Sinatra, like I've Got the World on a String.
Right. Well, there's something a little more.
That's
There's
kind
a
of
little.
I prefer
There's something
more.
a little more controlled.
Yeah,
about
something
his
more
voice then,
controlled.
I would say,
I
and
think
a little
his-
smoother.
Like, you know, I got to say, if I'm going to give any criticism, I would say I'm not a big fan of the vowel sound that he uses on the word my. It's almost like he's kind of closing off the word. He's not totally open on that word. Yeah, he's like, my way.
Well, no, that's just. He was just.
I know, but
he was just. Inputting his. his own particular accent. Actually,
well,
into
I
it
know,
there,
but
think.
I think in doing so, I think it makes him. It makes you afraid he's going to be out of tune.
Hey, you know what though? He did it his way. It's
yeah,
true.
I mean, you know,
And-
it did. But did you not feel like, oh man, he's almost going to be out of tune here?
Well,
you know,
he does tend to kind of scoop.
He does scoop in
but
those.
I think part of that to me is more
when
that,
we say scoop, we mean like he
kinda scoops in
scoops
tune.
in tune to it.
But I think more than the vowel
more
pronunciation,
than this, he did it his way. No,
more than the vowel pronunciation, I think it's more that he kind of.
overpronounces the M.
Well, no, he tends to dump on a lot of words.
Right.
Actually, when I say dump, he kind of. He kind of
He overemphasizes the beginnings of consonant words,
which causes him to start lower.
or a little flat on a
It
note.
starts him, yeah, it makes him go flat. Well, actually, I think that's also a stylistic thing too that he was trying to sometimes doing is to kind of start lower on a lower pitch and then scoop
it's almost
up.
like he does. I did it my
No, he goes.
way.
I did it my way.
I just did that. I did it my
Yeah, there you go.
way.
Right, yeah. But I think, yeah, so, sometimes that can be used with effect, and I think he's doing that here. Or maybe he's doing it because his voice isn't as what it used to be.
Sure.
And it's kind of maybe a crutch. I don't know. I can't get in his head.
regardless,
but regardless,
criticisms
it's still-
aside-
it does still sound good, though. I think it
Criticizes
still
aside,
sounds
it's
good.
a classic song that it does make you kind of feel good. I mean, it's just, you really feel like, you feel like there's like that climax. It really makes you really feel it, I guess.
Well,
you know?
I don't think it's a crutch. Actually, it's more just. I think it's a.
You can, okay.
Well, no, what I mean is, I'm just kind of
getting on in this.
I'm thinking about it, and I think maybe it's just more. I think he's doing it maybe a little too much, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Sure. But I guess.
I mean, it's a stylistic thing, where
But
you
hey-
really kind of want to give it your all, but I think it's just.
and so-
It could cause you to kind of wobble.
But hold on,
in and out of tune.
I think
maybe,
you're
but-
staying a little too much on this
Okay, sure.
thing right here. But
Sure.
but all in all, regardless of any imperfections, he is doing it the Frank Sinatra way, and this is unmistakably Frank Sinatra. His style, you can't. You wouldn't be able to say it's any other singer. He
That's-
sounds like nobody else but himself.
No, but I would say in his younger days, it's unmistakably Frank Sinatra too. He has a very unique tone to his voice, and I think if you heard him sing, it's unmistakably him.
Sure.
No matter what era of Frank Sinatra.
Sure.
So
anyway,
I mean,
we could keep going on with this song and go in a very deep analysis of it, but I think that's going to do it for now. This song is great, and we really like it. Just listening to it for 1,000 times, there's going to be things that we really go in depth with here. But if you like what you heard and saw today, please hit that subscribe button and ding that post notification bell to find out about more Max and Nikki reaction videos.
please keep tuning in.